Hi everyone, it's Kerry Jeffrey from Emotional Autoimmunity, navigating the emotional side of living life with chronic illness. And today I'm really thrilled to be talking to Cristina Curp all the way from in Hawaii, which we were just talking about before we came on air, which sounds very beautiful. And we've got the rainy season in both our places, so that's something that we already have in common. So before I start talking to Cristina, I'll just tell you all a little bit about her. Now, Cristina Curp is a restaurant chef turned stay-at-home mum and military spouse. She lives in Hawaii with her family and enjoys spending her days cooking, hiking, and hanging out at the beach with her boys. She blogs over at thecastawaykitchen.com, where she shares her creative paleo recipes and her healing journey. So welcome, Cristina. So lovely to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Fantastic. So let's get right into this. Cristina, what health issues do you have and how do they affect your day-to-day life?
Well, my one diagnosed and I think biggest autoimmune issue is Hidredentis suppurativa, which is, it's interesting because it's one that like you don't test positive for the anti-nuclear antibody with it. And I think some doctors would even argue that it's not an autoimmune disease, but it's particularly gruesome in the way that you get boils and abscesses in very delicate areas of your body. Some people get it on their face or their scalp as well. But it's usually underarm, under your breast, groin, like just around your private parts. So it's hard for people to talk about. It's extremely painful. It leaves horrible scarring and renders some people handicapped. Actually, it's pretty bad. And since my autoimmune journey, like healing process and doing the autoimmune protocol, I started like, I think I have something else. I mean, I told my doctor because my HS has gotten so much better, but there's just other symptoms that I'm having now that I'm so in tune with my body, I can actually like single them out. And my mother was recently diagnosed with Hashimoto's, so I just got labs done for that. So my doctor's between Hashimoto's or seronegative lupus because of fatigue and pain that I have and just other symptoms. So joy, fun things. So those things, obviously, those symptoms on a day-to-day basis obviously affect me. I was telling you before we came live that I'm just getting over a flare, which consisted of fatigue and exhaustion and a migraine, joint pain. But the HS, I'd say it's still what affects me the most because of the nature of the disease. Even when I don't have a flare, my body is scarred because of it. I mean, the way I dress, going to the beach, it affects, it's something that's deep-rooted in my self-esteem. So yeah, it's been difficult. I can actually talk about it now. Since doing the autoimmune protocol and actually having a grasp on it, I actually now talk to people about it. I kept it a secret my whole life. I had boyfriends that didn't know. Like, I mean, I became an artist at hiding this disease from the world. So
I've spoken to a few other people with HS and they said that the biggest issue for them was they felt so shameful, and they'd even had doctors, sort of say that they were dirty and they weren't washing enough and all of that. So this, this real element of shame and embarrassment, which, I can only imagine must have been horrendous to live with. I mean, how long have you had this for, Cristina?
Since preteen, since I was like, I think 13, 14. Yeah, it's been hard. And I grew up in Miami, Florida, of all places. So the land of the scantily clad, beautiful people. So it was definitely difficult, especially in my teenage years. Lots of pool parties, lots of boats, beaches, lots of situations where people are showing a lot of skin. I coped in my own way, but it was hard. It definitely, a lot of self-esteem issues because of that. And I think I always thought it was like, is it because I was overweight? Because I've always struggled with my weight. Is it because, like you said, doctors tell you have to wash more. And I was always just so fascinated at how people had this like beautiful, clear skin. You get a lot of that like, why me going on. So
definitely. So was that, I mean, from such a young age, you puberty is hard on anybody. You've got so many things going on in your body, and your body's changing, and you get periods and all of those, wonderful things. I mean, what was the hardest part for you emotionally about coming to terms with your illness? Because you probably didn't know it was an illness for a long time. You just thought there was something weird.
Right. I didn't know for the longest time, my mom and my sisters, and, they tried to obviously make me feel like, well, it's okay. Everyone gets like a pimple here and there, or like, razor rash, because it's a huge thing, of course, in Miami, because everyone shaves down there because of bikinis. So sometimes I would like say it's that or attribute it to that. I wasn't even sure what it was for a long time. I just knew, it was embarrassing, obviously, and because the scars, it's, especially because I'm tan, they scar purple. It's dark, like my skin in the areas it turns very dark. And I think I was just embarrassed. I mean, I remember one time being out on the boat. It was the regatta, a big party, and I always wore shorts. I wear big those shorts. And anyways, I was climbing up something. I like the ladder, and my friend was behind me. I was like, "Oh my God, you have a bruise!" And immediately I knew what they were talking about. Immediately, but I was like, "Oh yeah, I fell." Like I just panicked. I was like, "Yeah, with the ladder, I hit myself," and that was my life. That's how I coped. I made excuses for it. Even with like when I was intimate with people, like especially coming, in college and stuff, I think that definitely hindered intimacy issues. I mean, I had sex with people, but honestly, usually I would drink because I had to, it was the only way I would calm down enough or let loose enough. And even then, lights off, or I would have band-aids placed, or I would have to be in control of the situation. That's something that stuck with me a lot, having to be in control of intimacy issues, so I could navigate what was going on, so that, God forbid, they wouldn't come face to face with, the monster.
So trying to control the situation, so you had, you could control what they saw and what they had access to.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. That was like a huge thing to deal with, I think. So it was difficult. I mean, and I don't even think till this day I have processed how deeply it's impacted my life. It's ongoing. As I heal, I'm just more and more discovering how it just impacted my, everything. Incredible.
Yeah. And it can often be that way. I know with my Hashimoto's and celiac, I can sort of see from where I am now, looking back, it makes sense of a lot of things that have been going on in my life for decades. But if you'd asked me then, I would have said, yeah, I was healthy. I never had to go to the doctors. There was, I never got sick. There was nothing wrong with me. So, it's interesting how you can look back and put those little pieces together and just see the effect it's had on shaping you and shaping your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, just so many instances as I think back, like a guy I really liked in high school, and we'd see each other at the parties on the weekends, and when he would invite me to do something during the day, I didn't want to go, because I was like, what if we get intimate? What if he sees something? And I wouldn't go. And then he ended up going out with another girl because he thought I didn't like him. Things like that, when you're 16, it's like the biggest deal for you. So since a young age, just really warping my relationships with, even my friends now that are like, why do you eat that way? And I was like, well, I have this. And they're like, I've known you for 20 years. What do you mean? And I'm like, no one knew. No one knew. It was, yeah. Hiding it was consuming.
And do you think, Cristina, just in light of all of that, have there been any positive changes or insights that you've had as a direct result of your illness about yourself or about your life?
Well, I don't know. I still have a hard time seeing something positive from the illness. I do feel that it drove me to autoimmune protocol and to paleo and to changing my lifestyle. After I had my son, my HS got worse and it started to spread. And that's when I really I couldn't anymore. Because I never had it on my breast. And then after I had my son, and I think because I nursed him, I was nursing him. I nursed him for 2 years. And so it just became like I had the HS there, and then he would nurse, and it was painful, and it became this very horrible whole cycle. And that's when I was enough is enough, and I found it was a Primal Girl. She had the post on Raw Wolf, and she talked about her HS and nightshades and all that. And through that wormhole, I slowly, little by little, found out more and more. The thing, like I regained my health. I did paleo back in 2008, before I even knew about autoimmune issues. Like a natural path doctor recommended I do it. And granted, I was eating nightshades by like the buckets back then because I love peppers. So my HS was not better, but my overall health was. So it got me back to that. It got me back to really eating in a way that is the best for my body. And I would say now I'm in better shape and in just better health than before. And my lifestyle in general is actually healing, because back in 2008 I was doing paleo, but then I was drinking vodka a lot. So not healthy. You know, I was partying a lot. So it's just been an overall, like, I really am healing. Like, I work out, I spend time outside, I get proper sleep. It's great. So that has been positive.
And it does put you a lot more in tune with your body, doesn't it? That you know, you have this sort of communication process going on.
Yes, absolutely. I remember even during pregnancy, all these women talk about these changes in their bodies, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, this is just all. And I had a healthy pregnancy and all that, but it wasn't until now I know immediately. You know, I know when I'm ovulating exactly. I know if I eat something, if I'm like need more protein, if I need more magnesium, I know immediately. As before, I was just, my body and I weren't talking. And I think it's because I had that, like, we weren't on speaking terms. I was very mad at it for doing that to me, and we were not speaking. So I'm glad we're talking now.
Yes, it's much better when you can get along, isn't it? And you know, just promote that relationship. So you must have seen quite a few doctors over the years, sort of wondering what was going on. What advice would you like to share about dealing with the medical profession that you found to be the most helpful or empowering for you?
Oh gosh, I haven't had the best luck with doctors. I feel, and it's unfortunate because the kind of care that I think is the most productive, I do feel oftentimes, at least at the beginning, to have a conversation. Doctors are actually willing to like you about it and like see you through a treatment process that's going to not just take care of symptoms but like heal you. And dermatologists, they're the worst of all types of doctors. I think they're the worst breed. So I don't know what they teach them, but they are so fast and just to the point, and they don't want to hear about what you're eating. And so my thing, people with HS especially, don't see a dermatologist. Yes, it's a skin condition, but try and go see like integrative medicine or even just your primary care, because it's a whole body issue. It's not just a skin issue. So your dermatologist isn't going to care about what's going on inside. And also to go see doctors armed with knowledge. They don't like when you get all crazy telling them like, I read on Paleo Mom, but you can tell them, you know, keep a journal. Proof is in the pudding. You know, I get military healthcare, so you can imagine. It's interesting. And I've seen a lot of doctors here who looking at me and were like, they would not believe. They're like, I think your autoimmune thing, like the autoimmune protocol, it's just a coincidence. You need to get on antibiotics, you need to have the surgery. And finally, I found one that was like, oh, like I know that paleo is cool, I've heard about that. Like, you know, looking at my skin, because it's greatly improved. My HS is greatly improved. I mean, areas that were just like mountains of just irritated skin that was on fire is now flat, it's now smooth. I mean, my flares now are few and far between. So when they see this, like all these scars that are healed, they're, you know, so I've seen a few doctors. I actually went to see a plastic surgeon here to see if they could do anything for the scars now that I'm like not flaring as much. And he was just so impressed with the fact that the diet. He was like, what's that diet called? He made notes. He was the autoimmune protocol. And so be patient. You're going to see a few. And just try and give them something to show, like, I'm trying this. I don't know. It's so hard. Don't give up. And if you don't get what you need from the Western medicine, save up money or something and try and see someone, Eastern medicine, a naturopath or something, because I feel they tend to at least be a little bit more willing to work with you, like longer term treatments. I don't know. It's so hard. Just don't go to dermatologists. They're not helpful.
I think
that's the worst kind.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
In everything, like I'm used to be in lots of Hashimoto's support groups and thyroid support groups and other sorts of support groups, and the specialists like endocrinologists, so anytime you get a specialist, they tend to be the worst because they're so focused on one particular thing. They don't want to know about how it interacts with anything else. They just, they're just focused on one particular aspect. And I think that's the biggest problem that we have, is that there's very few people who are willing to look at the whole body as a system, not these little tiny parts that are not connected.
Right. It's that. Yeah. I was even, the doctor I see now, luckily, I think because we built a good relationship and he's really seen my improvement. When we did the labs, when he took blood the other day for Hashimoto's to check, he's like, remember, if you're not having a flare right now, it might not come out positive. So we might have to do more than one test. Because the first time they tested for the ANA, it came out, what's the word? I forgot, equivocal. And then the second time it came out positive. So he's really working. He knows. I mean, I think he just feels for me because he sees me go in there and I'm like, I am doing everything. Why do I still feel this way?
That's such a common thing with people with thyroid issues for years. They just say, the doctors say, you're normal, but I don't feel normal. I'm exhausted. My hair's falling out, my skin's dry. I've got cold hands and feet. I don't have any energy. So the main thing is just get your antibodies tested. That's the main indicator of whether you've got an autoimmune thyroid condition. I mean, that's the one where at least you'll know. And the problem with that, at least, from what I hear and from my experience and other people with Hashimoto's, is the doctors will only test the TSH for that, because it doesn't matter to them whether it's autoimmune or not, because the treatment is the same. So their focus is not on that. But you, with the perspective of knowing already about autoimmune disease and how diet is so powerful, that's what you'll need then, because that's going to give you a hook to hang it on. You can say, okay, that's what I've got. I've got antibodies attacking my thyroid, which makes sense what's going on with me. So that's just my advice to you, would be that that's the best, the main thing to get tested is the TPO and the TPAG.
Okay, yeah, I have to even ask him. I don't even know if because the way it works here, it's like you see the doctor and he's like, go get tested, and then you just walk out and then there's a little place and they take your blood and it's all on the computer, so you never even see a paper, so I have no idea what they tested. But yeah. Yeah. When we leave Hawaii, I'm going to get back out of network. But when we're moving here, just the choices are so limited. But yeah, it's the medical industry. I'm very distrustful. Even when I was pregnant, like I had the Del Mar Prenatal Care to Birthing Center and all that jazz because I wanted a natural birth, and I just I have a deep distrust of the medical industry, unfortunately. But I'm trying. I think I found a good person, and those exist, and they exist in the medical field. You just have to find them.
Well, they are, absolutely. And like anything, you've got to shop around. I'm not sure how it's set up in the States, but in Australia, you do have a right to ask for copies of your test. And in fact, on ordering the test forms, there is a little checkbox that they can tick that says to send a copy to the patient. And it's always good to have those things. And, offline, I can certainly send you some tests that I suggest you get done. That'll help and get the copies. So, you mentioned this a little bit before, but how has having your illness changed the way that you feel about your body? And maybe it's sort of like a before and after process for you now.
Yeah, I wish it was more before and after. I've been waiting for that moment to be like, this is my after, but it's not, I feel like I'm not quite there yet. I definitely am happier now. I feel stronger. I feel more in control. I'm not just at the whim of, I am, but I pretend to be in control. At least I know how to mitigate, when I feel a flare coming on, I'm like, Epsom salt bath, bone broth, take it easy. I have my routine to kind of in. And I do feel I'm not as angry anymore. Sometimes I am, but for the most part, I feel like, okay, it's so common. It's not so common, but it's more common than I thought. And there's all these groups, and it can always be worse. I know of other people, you know, who've had HS and in the support groups, and sometimes when they share, and it's despite that there's, I mean, and they post pictures, and I'm just like, okay, it can be worse. There's some people out there who are truly like on disability because of this disease. So I just try and be. I'm more appreciative, I feel, of my situation. And it's something I've been working for. It's all tied in though. For me, it's all so complicated because it has so much to do with body image as well. Like, although I've always struggled with my weight, I was always like overweight, but not super, but healthy enough. And then after I had my son, I didn't gain weight during the pregnancy. I gained weight after the pregnancy because my hormones were crazy and just motherhood. And then I lost that last year on AIP, actually on the autoimmune protocol. It was crazy. It just, all that excess just really came off. And I think my body's been like, okay, we're back to our normal now. And so it's been stagnant for a while when I was really hoping to have one of those like, oh, I lost 80 pounds on paleo in the first year kind of results, but not happening. But it's fine. Like I said, I'm active. Like now that I can be active because I have more energy because of my lifestyle and diet, I'm doing spinning. I mean, that's a big deal for someone with HS to sit on a bike saddle. That's like, whoa. So that's a big one. And weightlifting and just doing things I never thought I could do before. So my body, we're getting along a lot better now these days. And I do feel, I'm just, the AIP has been, like the autoimmune protocol in the community has been transformative, to say the least.
It's quite amazing the power that what you eat has on your body and how you feel, isn't it? And on your symptoms. And it's almost miraculous. It's
miraculous.
Quite amazing. So, Cristina, what would you most like people to understand about your illness?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is to understand that it exists, to know that there's a lot of people out there dealing with this, and that what they need is like compassion and understanding. Because sometimes I feel like HS can really feel like, you know, the pox or the plague, like it's one of those like 17th century horrific diseases. I swear it's awful. And even to looking at it, you know, people, it's not, you know, pleasant, but I feel that if people knew it existed or just were, so the people who have it don't necessarily always have to explain themselves. It was just a little more mainstream. I think a lot more people would be more comfortable talking about it because it's something that really affects people. I mean, they can like, you know, they limp when they walk or they wince when they sit or they can't lift their arms up or it's just every day. And the fact that there's nothing that these people with HS feel that they can, there's no explanation that they feel they could give to the people in their lives that would be simple or quick or not embarrassing. So just awareness. That's really the biggest thing, awareness that this is something. You know, and that it's not contagious, that it's not because they're dirty. Just awareness and understanding, because the hardest thing for someone with HS to do is to have to explain it to you. Honestly, like you know, like how I know I was living there right in that moment. Now it doesn't bother me anymore because I feel empowered with the knowledge and you know, and because I've come. I think it wasn't until 6 or 7 weeks into the AIP that I was seeing results that I felt like I could talk about it now because I'm doing something about it. But when I still had that guilt about that it was my fault or that it was something wrong I was doing, I was too embarrassed. So yeah, awareness so people don't have to.
And do you think it's changing, and do you think that people are talking about it more and there's more information out there now than there was when you were younger?
I don't think so. I really think, I mean, maybe I think in the same, in private circles still, you know, I try and talk about it. Even when I hosted the Whole 30s like recipes page, I like talked about it. When I get a platform bigger than my own, I talk about it. But I still feel like now my circles are these are my circles, the AIP circles, the support groups, the paleo, the diet. So for me, yes, now I'm like swimming in HS everything and information, but I think there's so many people out there who still aren't in these they're not in the bubble. And for them, they're still alone.
Yes. And that's exactly why I started doing this, because, you know, there are so many people still out there drowning, and there are so many people who don't, you know, have access to trying different things, or don't even know that, you know, if you eat something different, it can change your symptoms and change your body, or if you try a different treatment, it can change things. So, you know, that was my main impetus, because that was what I was looking for at the height of my illness, was people talking about, you know, not just the medical side, that I knew what I needed to do. I wanted to know the emotional side, like how did you deal with things? How did you find out things? You know, what did you try? All of those different sorts of things. And yeah, the more that people talk about it, the more it normalizes it, the more that other people can say, oh yeah, well, that happens to my cousin, or that happens to my sister, or that happens to my friend, or so they can point them in the right direction where they can feel like,
which is incredible, that every time you bring it up, someone's going to say, oh, you know, and every time I bring it, I'm incredible. When I shared on my blog finally about the HS, incredible people that I've known for a long time, my boyfriend or my husband or my sister or me, like people just coming out of the woodwork and being like, oh, like I think I have that, or incredible. Yeah, they just need to know that someone, they just want to hear of me too.
Yeah.
Like those words are so so powerful.
They are, yeah. And there could be people sitting there with HS not even knowing that it is, just thinking maybe I've inherited some weird boil condition, or, you know, that sort of thing. They don't even know that that is a disease, that there is something, you know, and that other people have it too. They might just think it's just me. It's some weirdness about me that's only me. And that can be so isolating and really hard to deal with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What changes have you made to your life to help you create better health? And what was the most challenging for you to do?
I think the biggest, so overall changes, I did the autoimmune protocol, and then I did a whole 30, and then I stayed paleo, and then I did the autoimmune protocol, and then I slowly reintroduced some foods back in, and I've had really good success. But I stayed paleo. Like for me, trying to reintroduce like grains I'm just not even going there, because I feel like I found my forever diet. Like my body likes this, let's just keep it going. It's got a good thing, let's do this. So that was big, but that came pretty easy. I love food, you know, I was a chef. So for me to, you know, I think the social aspect was the hardest, especially, you know, drinking. Like I can't even, it's not like, oh, I can have a glass of wine a day. Like even in moderation, it's something I can't do anymore. I mean, very rarely, like maybe once a month, I'll have a glass or two of wine. And even then the next day I'm like, I have to like walk on eggshells to make sure I don't, you know, push myself too far, because my body teeters on like the edge. And that's been hard, because when you're not drinking, you realize how much social everything revolves around alcohol. You know, my neighbors, there's parties, they all drink. You know, my husband and I used to love to go out. We used to bar hop or go to concerts, and for him, poor thing, even our relationship, like we don't do like happy hour anymore. And also like it's not fun really, like when you know, partying with someone who's not partying. So to speak.
Who are all these drunk people? Why are they doing stupid things?
Exactly. And it's interesting because for me, that's, I think, a bigger change. Like I used to be a party girl. Like I grew up in Miami. I used to club. I used to 6 days a week. And I mean, I met my husband at a club. We met out like at 3 a.m. So it was you know, motherhood obviously toned that down a lot. But then furthermore, now it became like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go back to being like this fun, like party person when my kid grows up. Now it's like, no, it's just that person doesn't exist anymore, because she would probably like die of health issues. So that was a big one to let go of. Like, and finding out that I can still be fun and exciting in my own ways that don't have to deal with that, you know. So yeah, that was the big one to let go, especially because everyone despite what people may think, military bases, it's like frat houses. These people are crazy. They party a lot. So it was it's a step away from the social.
Yeah, and your priorities change, don't they? You value different things.
Absolutely. For me, it's not worth giving up a day or two recovering from a night out anymore, you know, and the damage it just does. Like obviously, if I didn't, you know, maybe I would. But my priorities are absolutely changed. Like I'm not even like I was telling my sister today. I want to be 100%. I'm willing to do the work, but I don't want to live with okay. I want to be at 100%. That is my goal, to be able to be like I am flare free all the time. I am this vibrant, because I can go from last Saturday. I had my best spinning class ever. I felt like a beast afterwards. I was so strong. That was a week ago, and today I could barely stand up. I don't want to live that roller coaster. My goal is to have 100% all the time, and I am fighting for that every day. Like that is, and nothing's gonna get in the way of that. I will reach there. I will get there. You know, like I healthy. I work out. I want to be a vibrant person. So yes, not willing to compromise for why in the world.
And you know, when you find something that makes you feel better, that's really worth paying attention to and keeping up, or at least it is to me. And like you, that's just how I live now, and that's my lifestyle, and I enjoy it, and I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything at all. So yes, there are lots of good things that can come along with it as well. And having more energy and feeling better and feeling stronger is certainly one of those things to have.
Yeah. I actually love the gym now. I used to hate the gym, but I think from when I felt so fatigued in February, March, I had a really hard time with fatigue. And when I got my energy back, and I was just felt so excited that I could work out again. And I love going to the gym, and I love seeing that, like, when I see results, that my body's getting stronger and better. So for me, that's so great now. Like I live for that, which is funny because it used to tell me like go to spin class. I was like, you're crazy.
And Cristina, have any of your relationships changed as a result of your illness?
Yeah, absolutely.
The changes that you've made as a result of your illness. Yes,
absolutely. I feel that as a mother, actually, because of the autoimmune protocol, like I view differently, like how I've always been health centered, but how I view my son's health, I'm watching that. I have more energy for him. I feel better. I have a very rambunctious 3-year-old, and now I can run after him, and he rides his bike and I jog with him. Things that before I was like, oh, wait, hold on. So that's been really positive. And sorry. And my husband, like I said, that relationship definitely had to change, I feel, because we did go through like that shift of the things that we did together changed. But I think they've all been positive, really, because I think my life has become more positive. So yeah, there's always the transitions are always difficult, and going back home and visiting friends, and they're all like, oh, let's go out and let's this, and I'm just like, well, let's get coffee instead, or let's do brunch, and that's fine, because I feel I'm a better person. Really, I truly do feel I'm a better person for it. So yeah, the changes have been good. All good changes.
Yes, yeah, and you've got to put boundaries in place for those changes and things to happen. So
absolutely.
What advice would you give the partner and the family of someone with your illness? They've just been diagnosed. What would you say to them? You there, Cristina? All right, well, it looks like we've lost our connection with Hawaii, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to leave the interview a little bit short there. So people can find out more about Cristina and her recipes over on her blog, which is, excuse me while I reach for my piece of paper, which is thecastaway kitchen.com. And she has some fantastic recipes. And when I put this interview up, I'll add the link to her blog as well. So I'm looking forward to coming back to you soon with another interview, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.